Hello and welcome to another episode of Pat Bear's Anime Club. This is the last episode of the year. If you haven't watched the Pat Bear's Anime Club video before, check out the archives on my YouTube channel. I cover topics every other Monday, ranging from a preview of the upcoming season, what I'm watching that current season, what's an isekai. I'll do some deep dives into some things, pick some topics. I've talked about pet peeves. And normally this time of the season, which is just wrapping up, I would be taking a look back at the fall 2020 season, talking about my favorites and my least favorites, and I will be doing that on December 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/PatBear. I will be recording that live, and it will be the next Pat Bear's Anime Club episode to go out on here on my YouTube. But today, in this particular video, I'm going to be talking about Pat Bear's Anime Club Awards 2020. That's right, I should have done this last year and I didn't. I'm doing my own award show, my own superlatives, giving out the coveted PBAC award, which I just made up. It does not exist, and that's fine. And in the comments below, if you want to play along, if you want to, give your winner for these categories, which are very personal, and you might not have a show that is both the best and worst of 2020. You might not have a show that was made just for you, and you feel like you're the only person out there. I feel like there's a couple that you're going to agree with me, and maybe there are a few that you very much disagree, but let me know in the comments below, because that's always fun to hear, because there are shows, maybe Gymnastic Samurai is your show of the year. A show I watched one episode of and went, nope, I'm okay. Maybe that is your favorite show this whole season, and that's our entire year, and that's awesome because we're all different. So let's get into these awards. As I said, these are very personal, but maybe you'll agree or disagree. So let's get right into it with our first category. Wish I had started sooner. Which show did I wish that I had started sooner? Well, I've talked about it on stream. Haven't really. I did a video where I talked about shows that I wish I had started sooner. It's a whole Pat Bear's Anime Club video. It's Haikyuu. Haikyuu just wrapped up at the time of this recording, and I just wish I had started sooner. I've had years to be in love with these good volleyball boys. I say I'm not into sports anime, but when a great one comes along, this was definitely my marathon show this year, a show that I went through seasons. I watched the OVAs. I really dug into it and just enjoyed it so much. I can't wait for the fifth season, which will come out sometime next year. Or if you are doing your math wrong, the fifth season just ended because they took a long break in between the two halves of the fourth season. But some people consider this last season the fifth season, which makes things confusing. But anyway, this is a fantastic show about growth and potential and overcoming yourself, and it's the team dynamic is excellent. It features villains, but those villains, as soon as our good boys beat them, then you're happy to root for them. But the competitive nature between all of them is so rad, and I just loved it so much. There's so many great characters throughout the whole thing. This season just wrapped up, as I said, and watching the last 6 episodes, week to week, instead of just in marathon sessions, was so, it was just like, what's going to happen next week? What's going to happen next week? And even the second to last episode of this season kind of wrapped it up, but they gave you some closure into what's coming up next because, this thing isn't over with. We're just getting started. The manga ended this year. I very much think I might just end up reading ahead and finishing it up. Maybe, I don't know. Excellent show. Wish I had started sooner. All right, let's go into it. This is a category. I think your answer is going to be different from mine. I'm sure there's always some stuff in your backlog, and this category right here, this award is I'll watch it in 2021. The show that I know I'm going to be watching next year. Maybe I'll even start. In between January. The new shows start very early, so maybe I won't even wait till then. Maybe I'm going to have to watch it in these next couple weeks. And for me, that show is Tonikawa Over the Moon for You. Because At the start of this fall season, because this is recent, just wrapped up, um, I'm just not in the mood for a romantic anime. Romantic comedy anime, young people who got married barely know each other and are figuring out what it means not only to be in a committed relationship but also to be in a marriage and be together and learn about each other. It's adorable. This is a lovely little series. And I just don't want to watch it. I don't need this kind of saccharin. I need my saccharin sweet to also be bittersweet, and there's no bittersweet here. It's good. I mean, this is very good. I watched 2 episodes. I enjoyed it. There was going to be introductions to some characters that I was like, is everyone going to accept this relationship? They barely know each other and they got married. It's like, no, there are people who do not like what's happening. And I'm like, great. So conflict. Oh, we'll see if we can resolve it. Yeah, a lot of great minor characters. I'm going to watch this in 2021. And maybe that's not the case for you. What's your anime that you're like, okay, well, you kept talking about it, and so I'm going to check it out? Or one that you're just like, I just can't keep up, or I don't want to watch this week to week. I want to marathon it in my free time. So let me know. What's the show that you're like, I'll get to it? For me, it is Over the Moon for You. All right, I mentioned this before, my best and worst of 2020. This is the show that uh, had some very high highs and some very low lows. I've talked about this on stream, my utter disappointment in what happened here, whereas in the beginning of the year, I was so hyped for it. It's Black Clover. You probably knew it was Black Clover. I like shonen. I like ongoing shonen shows. I've kind of dropped off a few of them. I'm behind on One Piece. I Boruto, I pop in and out. I'll just watch some episodes on occasion. Black Clover for me is every Tuesday I'm watching Black Clover. There's so much to love about this show. A multi-year storyline. The so many things came together. Epic battles. Uh, Characters really stepping up. Uh, you might hear some noise in the background, and I apologize. Let's see. Yeah, you might hear a little bit. That's okay. I'm sorry if that's the case, but we're going to keep barreling through because we're getting into it. We're feeling it. So I'm hearing it probably more than you are. And if you are hearing it, I apologize. Anyway, Black Clovers, like I said, so highs, incredible epic fight scenes, people reaching out and going beyond their means. An incredible revelation for my favorite character, Charmy. We learned so much about Charmy at the beginning of this year, and there's still so much more to unpack about it because it was just like, here's a big thing, and we're not going to deal with it. And you're like, what if we dealt with it? And then the low lows. So after this big, wonderful conclusion to the first all of the arcs led up to this one thing, we're getting into another phase, right? And we do the shonen thing of a time skip because all our characters have to get stronger, right? So in the manga, we have a time skip. The anime decided, well, let's explore how these powers, because we're going to have some flashbacks of how they get these powers. Let's explore how they get to that point, right? We're going to do our own filler arc. Instead of filler episodes, we're going to do a full filler arc. The first Black Clover filler arc. Also, it allows them to kill some time so they don't catch up to the manga, which is happening. And that's always a tough time when you caught up to the manga because then you have to throw in an arc there and break up the pacing. So this is like, let's explore the filler arc. Let's explore the time skip with the filler arc. But when you end up happening is two things happen. One, nothing can happen. Nothing can change. So you have a lot of episodes where characters are like, I want to get stronger. And by the end of the episode, they're like, not that way. Okay. So nothing happens. And two, they tell their own story. And the story they want to tell is terrible. It's awful. It's paced poorly. Characters' motivations are all over the place and don't make any sense. And then the major thing, and I'm not going to get into minute details about it, but there are tragic queer characters in a show there's one character in the whole show that is queer, just one. And she's not, I don't think, even super aware of it. She's definitely in love with someone she shares a gender with, but it's not really explored. Even the women first. There are men here. They don't do any of the work. They're just in the background uh, uh, group in the show. Turns out they all have secret boyfriends. Really? Okay, sure. But yeah, there isn't queer representation in this show, and to have it be the first like major characters be this tragic, villainous queer relationship is awful. And it's very clear that someone was like, "Oh, this is going to make them seem even more tragic and sad." Is if this happens, and you're like, no, that just makes it awful because this show doesn't have that representation in any sort of positive way. As I said, there's one character who is in love with another woman, but she doesn't know that that's what she's feeling. Um, so it doesn't particularly work. Um, and that is it. So then you have that, and then you have this other incredibly insert characters that don't mean anything because they were created for the anime, so they don't mean anything in the plot, and it's just such a bummer. So, best and worst of 2020. Come on, Black Clover. We're getting into some good stuff here, some good story stuff, and then, like I said, hopefully we'll have some queer representation in this show. That would be nice. Um, and let's move on to our next category, made just for me. Obviously, this is a very personal category, right? What I'm about to say here is a show that I don't even know if I recommend to you. I don't know if I would say this is the show you should watch. But for me, the show that felt like it was destiny that it exists and I get to watch it and enjoy it, that is made just for me, that I might be the only person I know who's ever going to watch this show, is my Setsu opening act. And it's that show that happens once, sometimes twice a season. The girls really into a thing anime. Be it uh, mountain climbing or camping or fishing or board games or light music, being in a band, um, or traveling. This is the show about girls who are in. There's a knitting one coming out next season. This is the show about four girls into a thing, and that thing is Manza comedy. Stand up comedy, duo stand up comedy, a very Japanese interpretation with classical roots that continues to this day. It's Laurel and Hardy style kind of a thing, but its own interpretation of that. Um, a very specific niche thing. As a lifelong comedian and a studier of the art, to have an anime about comedy and particularly a focused stand-up comedy thing. Also, because this production is in part with a real group in Japan that is has all their clients are comedians and they own comedy theaters. There are real comedy acts in here. There are working Manza's duos in this show and comedy actors in this show, stand-ups and sketch performers play themselves. The idea that I'm watching an anime that has Freak in it is so weird. A group that I've seen their sketches on YouTube, and they like are in an anime. It's an anime that talks about improv. Like they have a very short formy improv game that they do, and they do it as a performance thing piece, where it's just like question and answer. Like one person poses a question, they all give their funny answers, and they're riffing. That is an anime said improv, and I don't know how to process that. Is it the best show this season? No, 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 no. My Setsu opening act is a bit of a mess in that, and not a Black Clover mess, no, in that it is not focused. If it had been a manga series, because there is a manga, but it's a companion piece, it's not the source material. If there had been a manga that could have figured things out, I think that you see these four main girls. They're two duos. They're all graduated high school, and they're pursuing their art. And I said Freak, was a real group, is their coworkers and kind of their mentors. but there's also the young and up and coming group that is just breaking out, that won a high school competition that they both never won or were even accepted into. And then there's also one of the girl's younger sister and her best friend decide they just got into high school. They want to do this as well. So we're seeing them figure out what their name is and what their style is. But our main girls aren't established enough anyway, and it's too much. We just have like 8 main characters, and it's too unfocused. So it's a hard recommendation. Also, I should say some of it is funny, but it's not a comedy show. It is a slice of life about comedy. So it's kind of that thing where like there are comedy podcasts and there are podcasts about comedy. Like Mark Maron's show isn't the funniest podcast. It's not Comedy Bang Bang, which is one of the funniest podcasts, that I listen to anyway. So it's that. This is the Mark Maron thing. This is an exploration of it. This is a show where you're going to have that thing about a joke that never works for the audience, but you love it, so you're going to keep figuring it out. You're going to be like, there's a whole thing about, well, the hardest part, the biggest thing about comedy is self-reflection. After a set, you got to sit and think about it, talk about it. Working the crowd versus just giving your material and forcing them along. There's a lot of comedy theory in practice here. And there's silly moments, there's fun moments, there's recurring gags. One of them has a bad sense of direction. Another is pretty chill, except until she gets behind the wheel of a car. Like, there's character stuff that's very silly and very fun. But it's mostly about the love of comedy. And whereas I think, keep your hands off Isaacin, you don't have to want to make anime and want to love the world of anime to appreciate the creativeness of that show. You gotta love comedy, and you gotta think a lot about fucking comedy to watch this show, which is why I think it's for me, because I spent a lot of time thinking about comedy, and I spent a lot of time talking about this. So let's get into our next category, which is let's get a little mean. We're gonna get a little nasty here. A show that should have ended last season. The should have ended last season award goes to, oh yeah, Food Wars, because the fifth plate doesn't need to exist. This was the last season, the fifth plate. And here's the real thing is, it's not like they messed it up. It's also the manga shouldn't have gotten to this arc. You would be surprised if you were like, oh, there's 13 episodes for the final season. It wasn't a double like many of the other plates, which is what they call their seasons, which is fun, and I enjoy that. Yeah, no. It was just pushed out there because you want to finish up the story. And yes, there was a delay because of the coronavirus. That does not excuse the fact that this is bad source material presented poorly. You have a character, your villain, is just bland and boring and not fun and definitely trying to be cool and presented as cool, but is not. Also, the fourth season wrapped up really well. The fourth season could have been the end of it. You've got these huge things of like a new director at the school, and the villains were defeated, and Soma won this incredible fight. It doesn't matter that he won another great fight, because this fight isn't great. And there's fun moments in it. And also, there is a queer character in this show who is a villain, and he is not tragic. And it's handled pretty okay, I would say. But look, it does wrap some stuff up. I would say you could watch the last 2 episodes of this season and be fine. If you were like, I would like some closure in this story. Because they even go so far as to like make a relationship abundantly clear. There is a tsundere character who just, even if it's just to herself, admits her feelings, and that's pretty good. That's pretty okay. Folks that watch my model kit building streams know that at a certain point, I just started predicting all of the outcomes of things that were going to happen, and I kept being right, which is terrible. I shouldn't be right. You should be able to surprise me. I'm not that clever. So, yeah, this was just, ugh. At a certain point, I wasn't hate watching it, but I was like, I just want this to be over. I like this show, but I would like it to be done. Should end of the fourth season. There was no reason to make this Even if the manga content exists out there, you could just do the last episode as an OVA and people would be happy. Uh, yeah, yeah, yikes. All right, and now a silly category here. We'll get into this one. Best Dino. Now, there were a lot of dinosaurs this year in anime, of course. We all can think of many of them. There were so many to list. It was hard to even get down a few nominees. I'm just kidding. There's dinosaurs aren't a thing in anime, and there's only one dinosaur that could win this, and that's Dino. The best Dino is Dino from Gal and Dino, be it the animated or the live-action versions, because they, even though they're the same character, they're different. It's weird to say, but the animated Dino is just, an anthropomorphized dinosaur that doesn't speak and likes ramen and likes hanging out and is just all odd expressions. Isn't the weirder of the two? The live action mascot character Dino has magical powers, and the live action half, is so weird and strange. Uh, it goes places. It makes takes big risks, and then it also, because partially the delay happened with Gal and Dino, the cooling off period, because they weren't done with the live action episodes back in January and February and went to lockdown. It was kind of pulled back. Lots of like, hey, everything's in this apartment. We're out of weird ideas. It is still just a great Dino, just a wonderful Dino. They are a fantastic character, so fun. Gal Dino is a great odd surprise this year. I like the premise so much. I didn't know that half of it would be live action until the first episode, and then I hadn't looked at the information to know that it was by the Pop Team Epic folks. So when there was a cameo of a minor character from Pop Team Epic, I was like, "What is happening right now?" And yeah, just a great Dino. And our last category, Best of the Year. That's right. It couldn't be an award show without giving a superlative for Best Show of the Year. And that show is coming in 2021. Yeah, sorry. I'm not going to tell you my anime of the year. You probably know what it is. You probably guess. Hey, that's great, actually. In the comments below, what's your anime of the year, and what do you think my anime of the year is? So this is where I say I'm going to be doing a list that will be on a website that is not YouTube, where I talk about my favorite anime of the year. That is coming in the beginning of January. I will probably do a video of that and make that its own video where I talk about my favorite anime of the year 2020. So I'm not going to spoil that now because there is going to be some sort of website thing where I will be talking about that, and then I will do a video on my favorite show, or maybe my favorite shows. Maybe I'll broaden it, but that is coming in the next year. Kind of like the shows you shouldn't have missed if you missed them in 2020. Did I talk about a couple of the shows that will be on a larger list in this video? Yes. Did I talk about my show of the year in this video? No. So stay tuned. And that's going to do it. This is another episode of Pat Baer's Anime Club. Again, down below, let me know, or maybe your own categories. If you don't want to do best of the year, maybe you don't have a show that should have ended last season. But maybe you have a new show. Maybe you've got tons of shows that you just didn't get to this year, and you're like, well, I probably should watch this, or like, oh, you kept talking about like all routes lead to Doom. Maybe I should check that out, or like, oh well, I never saw Sleepy Princess in Demon Castle. That seemed fun. Like, yeah, there are some shows next season you can probably check out. Let me know what you think below. And again, December 30th, 9 p.m. Eastern. There'll be information here in the bottom there, the show description below about that, how to subscribe to or follow my Twitch channel. If you're not already following me here on YouTube, please give me a like, give me a comment, give me a follow if you aren't already. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you on the next Pat Bear's Anime Club. Goodbye.